Dante Vitale did not get jealous. He controlled empires, not emotions. He ran meetings with men twice his age, moved money across borders, and ordered things done with one quiet sentence. He was the kind of man people whispered about in restaurants and pretended not to recognize in Midtown. He did not chase. He did not explain himself. And he definitely did not follow women. Until the night his maid made him feel something he couldn't name. It started days before the street scene. He had noticed Olivia Carter long before she knew he noticed her. At first, she was just the new maid. The agency had sent her after his former housekeeper retired. Young, polite, American, discreet. He liked discreet. She showed up on time, kept her head down, didn't snoop, didn't ask questions about the men in suits who sometimes arrived with bruised faces. But then she kept doing something unusual. She smiled. At the doorman, at the cook, at the security guys. She thanked the driver when she borrowed the service elevator. She laughed with the gardener about the size of Dante's ridiculous indoor plants. She never laughed with him. Around other people, she was light. Around him, she was professional. That irritated him. One afternoon, he was on a call, standing in the glass office on the second floor of the penthouse, when he heard it again. Her laugh, not loud, but honest. He glanced down. She was in the living room, talking to one of the younger security guards who was installing a new camera. She said something. The guard laughed too, and she brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. Dante's eyes darkened. "Boss?" the voice on the phone asked. "Nothing," he said, pulling his attention back. But from that moment, he started tracking her in small ways. What time she arrived, what time she left, what she wore. He even noticed on Wednesdays she left a little faster, like she had somewhere to be. He didn't like that he was noticing. So when Wednesday came again and she slipped out the service entrance at 8:12 p.m., coat on, hair in a loose ponytail, he was already in the SUV across the street. Luca sat in the back, scrolling through messages. "You want me to send someone to trail her?" "No," Dante said, watching Olivia turn the corner. "I'll go." Luca looked up, amused. "Since when do you?" "Since I said I'll go." Outside, the city was damp and buzzing, the streetlights reflecting on the wet asphalt. Olivia walked like someone used to doing things alone, fast, alert, but not paranoid. She stopped under a flickering streetlight, checked her phone, and looked around. Then he appeared. A tall guy in a hoodie and jeans, a backpack over one shoulder, grin wide. He waved at her. She waved back. And then, Dante felt his chest pull tight. She ran the last few steps to hug him. Something snapped. "Who the hell is that?" Dante muttered under his breath. Luca leaned forward from the back seat. Maybe a date. That was the wrong answer. The door of the SUV swung open. Dante crossed the street with long, furious strides, black coat moving like a shadow around him. "Olivia!" His voice cut through the air. She jumped, turning around. "Mr. Vitale?" The other guy looked confused. "Liv, who is he?" Dante demanded, eyes locked on her. Not the man, on her. "You leave my building and meet some man on the street at night?" People glanced over. The scene didn't match. A powerful, dangerously handsome man in an expensive coat confronting a maid and some random guy on a New York sidewalk. Olivia's brows pulled together. What? "You could have been followed," Dante went on, as if that explained why he was there. "You didn't tell security. You didn't tell me. You just walk out and meet some—" "Okay, hold on," the guy said, lifting a hand. "Why are you talking to her like—" "Because she works for me," Dante snapped, "and I don't like surprises." Olivia stared at him, and then her eyes widened with realization. Oh no, he thought. She pressed her lips together to keep from laughing, but it was useless. "Mr. Vitale, this is my brother." Silence. Dante stilled. "What?" The guy, tall, freckled, not even her type, grinned and stuck out a hand Dante did not take. "Ryan Carter, her brother. I came to walk her home. You must be the intense boss." Olivia burst out laughing. It came out bright and genuine, the kind of laugh Dante had wanted to pull out of her, but not like this. You followed me? She asked between laughs. You actually followed me because you thought I was on a date? Dante felt heat crawl up his neck, an emotion he hadn't felt since he was 15. I misread the situation. Ryan shrugged. Happens, man. No, Dante said sharply. It doesn't. Olivia wiped at her eyes. Well, it happened tonight. Behind him across the street, Luca was flat out laughing in the SUV. Dante cleared his throat, trying to regain an ounce of dignity. It was a security concern. Sure, Olivia said, still smiling. You were very concerned. I apologize, he said, clipped. He looked her brother over. Harmless. Civilian. Not a threat. Which made his reaction even more ridiculous. It won't happen again. He turned and walked away before she could say anything else. The night swallowed him back up, but Olivia's laughter followed him all the way to the car. Luca opened the door, smirking. So, brother, shut up. You want me to run his name? He's her brother. Yeah, but you didn't know that before you stormed the sidewalk like a jealous Luca. Okay. They drove off, but Dante didn't relax. He stared out at the city, jaw tight. Why had it bothered him so much? He'd had women, beautiful, expensive, ambitious women. None of them had made him get out of a car in the rain to interrogate them on the sidewalk. Olivia cleaned his house. She made coffee. She asked where to stock the towels. So why the hell did it feel like someone had tried to take something that was his? The next morning, the penthouse was quiet. Floor-to-ceiling windows let in cold November light over marble floors and dark furniture. The city hummed far below. Olivia arrived at 8:01 a.m., sharp, like always. Ponytail, simple makeup, black flats. As if she hadn't watched her mafia boss employer have a jealous meltdown in public the night before. Good morning, Mr. Vitale, she said as she stepped in. He was already there. Usually he left early. Meetings, warehouses, restaurants that were covers for other things. Today he was in the living room, suit jacket off, white shirt open at the collar, a file in hand he clearly wasn't reading. His eyes went straight to her. Morning. You're in, she said, pretending to be surprised. Early. Had business, he lied. Olivia went to the kitchen, set her bag down, washed her hands. She could feel his eyes on her. She bit back a smile. About last night, he started. She turned, leaning on the counter. No, please, let me remember it exactly as it was. His brow lifted. As what? As the night Dante Vitale, king of the New York underworld, almost arrested my brother because I dared to have a life. The corner of his mouth twitched. You enjoy this too much. A little, she admitted. You should have seen your face. He took a few steps toward her, slow, unhurried, all control again. You're lucky I don't fire you. You won't. Why not? Because I'm good at what I do. And because you weren't mad I was out. You were mad you didn't know who I was with. Silence. She'd hit it. Dante's eyes darkened. That was the thing about power. It was easy to command entire rooms, but much harder to control one woman who saw through you. He changed the subject. From now on, if someone's picking you up, tell security. So you can run background checks on my family, she teased, grabbing a cloth to wipe the counter. So I know you're not walking into something I can't protect you from, he said, serious now. She paused, looking at him. That was the first time he'd said it like that. I can protect you. You don't have to protect me, she said softly. I hired you. You step into my building. You fall under my protection, he replied, voice low, final. That's how it works. She swallowed. That was intense and a little addictive. He watched her work for a while, pretending to check his phone. She moved efficiently, quiet, organized. But every time she passed near him, there was a shift in the air. A brush of her shoulder, the scent of her shampoo, the memory of her laughing at him in the street. At one point she was dusting a lower shelf and the cloth slipped. She bent to grab it, and so did he. Their hands touched. It was nothing. A second, skin on skin. But Dante felt it like a spark. Olivia did too. Her eyes flicked up to his, wide, startled. His hand was bigger, warmer, his veins visible. He could have let go. He didn't. Careful, he said quietly. I am, she whispered back, not moving. His gaze dropped just for a heartbeat to her mouth. Then the office phone rang. He pulled his hand back first. I have to take this. He walked away, answering in Italian, voice cool again. She let out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. So that was it. He could pretend all he wanted. About security, about rules, about her being under his protection. But last night hadn't been about safety. Dante Vitale was jealous, and jealous men were dangerous. He tried to work the rest of the morning. Tried. But every time he thought about that street, he wanted to go back in time and do it differently. Not because he regretted following her, he didn't, but because he hated looking foolish in front of her. Luca came by around noon with updates about a shipment. Everything at the docks is clear. Good. Also, the kid is clean. Dante looked up. What kid? The brother, Ryan Carter. College student, part-time barista, no record, not connected to anyone. She was telling the truth. Dante shot him a look. You checked anyway? Luca smirked. You're not the only one who gets curious. Dante exhaled slowly. Don't bring it up again. Got it. But, boss? Luca hesitated. You ever think maybe you're getting too close to the staff? Dante's stare turned icy. No, because she's different. I said no. Luca lifted his hands. Okay. But Dante knew it was true. Olivia wasn't loud, wasn't flashy. She just belonged in his space, in a way most people didn't. And that was more dangerous than any rival. That evening, when she finished, Olivia grabbed her bag and headed for the elevator. She expected to leave unnoticed. Olivia. She turned. Dante was standing by the window, skyline behind him, one hand in his pocket. You're leaving? Yes. With your brother? No, she said, smiling. He works late today. I'm fine. His jaw flexed. Text someone when you get home. She raised an eyebrow. You want proof? I want to know you got there. She studied him for a second. You really don't like not knowing, do you? No, he said simply. She nodded, a small, almost shy smile on her lips. Okay, I'll text. She stepped into the elevator. He watched the doors close on her. He told himself that was enough, that he didn't need to follow her again. Then she walked out onto the street below, hair loose this time, coat open, city wind playing with the fabric, and something inside him clenched. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. What happens when a mafia boss decides a woman who works for him is now someone he wants near him, always? Dante Vitale had spent his life mastering control, of business, of violence, of men. But control meant nothing when the person you wanted to command didn't even realize she held it. He had told himself that the feeling would fade after a night of sleep. It didn't. If anything, it grew worse the next morning when he found Olivia in his penthouse again, humming softly, while she changed the sheets in the guest room like nothing in the world was wrong. He stood in the hallway for a full minute, watching her tuck the sheets with that calm, unhurried precision. The same woman who'd laughed at him in the street now moved around his home as if she hadn't just cracked the armor of the most feared man in New York. Mr. Vitale, she said without looking up. Are you going to stare all morning or do you want the bed done? He blinked once, stepping inside. Do you always talk to your boss like that? Only the ones who follow me home, she said, keeping her voice even. That answer should have irritated him. Instead, it almost made him smile. He crossed the room slowly, stopping beside the bed. You're brave. Not brave, she said, meeting his eyes. Just not scared of men who make mistakes. His jaw tightened. You think that was a mistake? What else would you call it? He didn't answer. Because the truth was, following her hadn't felt like a mistake. It had felt like instinct. Dangerous, uncontrollable instinct. He watched her smooth the pillowcase. Her sleeves rolled up to her elbows. The scent of soap and something sweet filled the air. He could almost feel the heat coming off her skin. He should have stepped back, Instead, he reached for the corner of the sheet, helping her tuck it in. Her hand brushed his again, just a second, and the air between them changed. Neither spoke. They both felt it. She pulled away first. "I can handle it." "I know," he said quietly. Later that afternoon, Luca dropped by with paperwork. Dante barely listened. His eyes kept drifting toward the sound of Olivia moving around the kitchen, opening drawers, humming to herself. When Luca finally caught his expression, he smirked. "You sure you want her working this close to you?" Dante didn't look away. "She's staff." "Right. Staff that makes you forget what I just said about the shipment." Dante turned slowly. "You enjoy breathing, Luca?" Luca lifted his hands, grinning. "Just saying. You've got that look." "What look?" "The one you get right before you make a problem personal." "Get out." Luca left laughing. Dante leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. Personal. That word stuck. Because it was personal now. Too personal. When evening fell, Olivia was still there. She usually left by 8, but she'd stayed late to finish the laundry. He found her in the laundry room downstairs, folding towels under warm yellow light. Her hair was slightly messy, a few strands falling from her ponytail. There was a tiny streak of detergent on her wrist. "You're still here," he said from the doorway. She jumped, almost dropping a towel. "Jesus, you move like a ghost. Bad habit." He leaned against the frame. "You should have gone home hours ago." "It's raining. I'm waiting for it to stop. You have a driver." "I'm not wasting a driver on weather," she said, eyes still on the towels. "You probably pay them by the hour." He took a slow step closer. "You always argue with your employer about logistics?" "Only when they sneak up on me in laundry rooms." He chuckled quietly. "Point taken." She looked up then, really looked. And for a second, the world went quiet. He wasn't the cold boss in a suit. He was just a man standing too close, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly undone from running his hands through it, eyes darker than they should be. "Thank you for checking," she said softly. "But I'm fine." "I know you are." He paused. "That's what worries me." "What does that even mean?" He hesitated. "It means I can't decide if I want you safe because you work for me, or because you make it impossible to think straight when you're not." The words left his mouth before he could stop them. Olivia froze. "Mr. Vitale." "Dante," he said quietly. She blinked. "Excuse me?" "When we're not in front of anyone else, call me Dante." Her heartbeat kicked. "I don't think that's appropriate." "Probably not." He didn't move, but the air between them thickened. Rain pattered against the windows. The faint hum of the dryer filled the silence. He reached out and brushed the streak of detergent from her wrist with his thumb. Slow, deliberate. Her breath caught. "You missed a spot," he said. She swallowed hard. "You shouldn't." "I know." He stepped back, forcing space between them. "You'll catch a cold waiting for the rain to stop. Let me have the driver take you." "Fine," she whispered. As they walked to the elevator, his hand brushed the small of her back, guiding her forward. Not possessive, protective. But her body didn't know the difference. Neither did his. The next morning, the atmosphere in the penthouse felt different. He was calmer on the surface, but the calm was fragile. Olivia moved around with quiet focus, pretending not to notice the way his eyes followed her every time she entered a room. At one point, she climbed a stepladder to dust a high shelf. He looked up from his laptop, distracted by the sight of her reaching, shirt riding up just enough to reveal the edge of her waist. He told himself to look away. He didn't. "Need help?" he asked, voice lower than he meant. She startled slightly, glanced down, then smiled. "I think I can handle a duster." He stood anyway, coming closer, steadying the ladder with one hand. "Just in case." Her eyes met his from above, something teasing there. "You don't like not being in control, do you?" "No," he said honestly. She laughed softly. "At least you admit it." He looked up at her for a moment longer than he should have. "Careful up there." She climbed down slowly, and when she reached the bottom, they were face to face, close enough that she could see the faint stubble on his jaw. close enough to smell his cologne. Neither moved. She whispered, "Thank you." His hand brushed her arm as he stepped aside. "Anytime." That afternoon, an unexpected visitor arrived. One of Dante's men with bad news about a shipment in Jersey. As Dante spoke with him in his office, Olivia entered quietly to drop a folder she'd found on the counter. The man's eyes lingered on her for a second too long. Dante noticed. The conversation stopped cold. "Eyes on me, not her," he said, voice like ice. The man flinched. "Sorry, boss." Olivia froze, realizing what had just happened. The tension in the room could have cut glass. When the man left, she turned. "You can't talk to people like that because of me." "I can," Dante said, standing. "And I will." "That's not fair." "It's protection." "It's intimidation," she shot back. He walked around the desk, closing the distance between them. "In my world, they're the same thing." Her chest rose and fell faster now. "Then maybe your world is the problem." He stopped inches from her. "It is, but I'm still in it, and now you are too." For a moment the only sound was their breathing. The argument dissolved into something heavier, not anger, but something dangerously close to desire. She stepped back first, breaking the spell. "I need to finish the rooms." He nodded once, forcing himself to breathe. "Go ahead." As she left, he stared at the door long after it closed. That night, she found a small box on the kitchen counter with her name on it. Inside was a brand new phone. No note, just a number saved under D. She sighed, shaking her head. "Control issues," she muttered. But when she got home and the rain started again, she texted him anyway. "Olivia, made it home. No need to send the driver. D. Good. Lock your door." "Olivia, you always this bossy?" D. Always this worried. She stared at the last message for a long time, a smile tugging at her lips. Up in the penthouse, Dante set the phone down and leaned back in his chair, watching the city lights blink through the window. He told himself it was just a message, just a check-in. But deep down, he knew. The line between protection and possession had already vanished. What happens when a simple act of protection turns into something neither of them can ignore? And the dangerous world around Dante starts noticing her too. The next morning, Olivia arrived earlier than usual. She told herself it was because she wanted to finish the laundry before the rain started again. But deep down, she knew she wanted to see if Dante would mention the text from the night before. He did. The moment she walked into the kitchen, he looked up from his espresso, phone in hand. "You texted." "I did," she said carefully, hanging her coat. "You told me to. You didn't have to listen. You told me to lock my door too. Should I have ignored that part?" He studied her face for a moment, lips curving slightly. "You're impossible." "Thank you," she said, smiling faintly, and went back to cleaning the counter. Dante leaned back in his chair, watching her. He didn't like how easily she smiled at him now, not because it bothered him, but because it did the opposite. Every movement she made pulled his focus like gravity. She was too calm, too sure of herself for someone working in a world like his. He wanted to know why. "How long have you been in New York?" he asked suddenly. 2 years. "Family here?" "Just Ryan." "Parents?" "Gone," she said quietly, still wiping the counter. He hesitated. "I'm sorry. It was a long time ago." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "You?" He gave a short, humorless laugh. "No one asks me that." "I just did." He didn't answer. Instead, he stood, adjusting his cuffs. "Come upstairs. I need to go over something." The penthouse office was massive, floor-to-ceiling glass, leather furniture, the skyline stretching out like an ocean of light. Olivia had been in there only twice, both times to drop papers. Now she followed him in, feeling the tension climb with every step. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the chair opposite his desk. She sat, hands folded neatly in her lap. "Am I in trouble again?" "No," he said, though his tone was unreadable. "But I need to make something clear." "About what?" "Boundaries." She raised a brow. "You're the one who texts me to lock my door, Dante." He exhaled slowly, the sound closer to a growl. "Exactly, that's what I mean. It's not appropriate." You're right. He glanced up sharply. I am? Yes, she said. You shouldn't follow employees, buy them phones, or tell them when to sleep. He tilted his head. You're enjoying this lecture, aren't you? A little. He almost smiled. Fine. You've made your point. Good. She stood, smoothing her shirt. Glad we understand each other. She turned toward the door, but his voice stopped her. Olivia. She looked back. Understanding something doesn't make it easier to ignore. She didn't answer, because she didn't know how to. She just stared at him for a heartbeat longer than necessary, then walked out. That night, Dante couldn't focus. Luca sat across from him in the lounge of their private club, going over numbers. Boss were short one container at the docks. Dante's attention drifted to the window, where the rain slid down in thin silver lines. Find it. I'm trying, but then find it faster. Luca sighed. You used to listen when I talked about business. Dante turned his head slowly. You think I'm distracted? I think you're human, Luca said, and I think that's dangerous in our line of work. Dante said nothing. He already knew he was distracted, because when he closed his eyes he didn't see ledgers or deals. He saw a maid's hands folding towels, her laughter echoing against marble floors. The next day the storm hit harder. Wind against the glass, the city gray and restless. Most of the staff had gone home early. Olivia stayed. She was finishing the kitchen when the lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. Perfect, she muttered. Of course. My generator's kicking in. Dante's voice came from behind her. Give it a second. She jumped. Do you always appear out of nowhere? Bad habit, he said again, amused. The lights hummed back on, weaker but steady. He moved closer. You should head home. It's flooding out there. I'll wait it out. You can't take the subway. I wasn't planning to. Then you'll stay here, he said simply. She blinked. Here? In the penthouse? It's safer. I'll sleep in the guest room. He nodded. Good. Hours later, she was in the guest room wearing one of the soft t-shirts the housekeeper kept for emergencies. She couldn't sleep. The sound of rain against the windows was too loud, and her mind wouldn't stop replaying the way he'd looked at her earlier, like a storm held behind a man's eyes. Finally, she gave up and wandered to the kitchen for water. He was there. No jacket, no tie, just a white shirt open at the neck, sleeves rolled up. He stood by the counter, staring out the window at the lightning flashing over the city. You don't sleep either? She asked quietly. He turned, surprised. Not often. Too many things in your head? Too many people trying to kill me, he said dryly. She smiled. That's one way to lose sleep. He watched her move around the kitchen, her bare feet silent on the tile. The shirt she wore was slightly too big, brushing mid-thigh. He looked away, then back again, failing miserably to be polite. You hungry? He asked. A little. He opened a drawer, pulling out pasta and sauce like a man who'd done this before. Sit. She sat on the stool, watching him cook. I didn't know mafia bosses made midnight pasta. Only the civilized ones, he said. She laughed softly. Is this part of my contract? Free dinner with the boss after an accidental kidnapping by the weather? Maybe I'm trying to make up for the street incident. She tilted her head. You keep bringing that up. Because I keep thinking about it. He turned to face her, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. The smell of garlic filled the room. The air between them felt charged again. Olivia, he said quietly. You make this place different. How? I don't know, he admitted. It's quieter when you're not here. Too quiet. Her throat tightened. Dante. He cut her off gently. You don't have to say anything. Lightning flashed, illuminating the sharp lines of his face, the shadow of stubble on his jaw, the scar near his temple. He looked like every dangerous thing she should run from, and yet she didn't move. He came closer, slow, deliberate, stopping inches away. Tell me to stop, he murmured. She didn't. He reached up, brushing a damp strand of hair from her cheek. His hand lingered, tracing the edge of her jaw. Her breath hitched. The world outside roared, but inside there was only that touch. warm, certain, addictive. "Dante," she whispered. He leaned in, his breath brushing her skin. "You shouldn't say my name like that." "Like what?" "Like you know what it does to me." Her pulse raced. "Do you?" His eyes locked on hers. "Yes." Their lips almost met. Almost. When a sharp knock broke the moment. "Boss," Luca's voice called from the hall. "We've got a problem." Dante's jaw clenched. "Of course we do." He stepped back, the heat instantly replaced by cold control. "Stay here." She nodded, still breathless, as he walked out. Through the open door she heard fragments of Luca's words. Docks, missing shipment, DeLuca's men seen near the pier. When Dante came back minutes later, his entire posture had changed. No softness, no hesitation. Just the boss again. "I have to go," he said, grabbing his coat. "Don't open the door for anyone. Luca will stay outside." "What happened?" "Nothing you need to worry about." "Dante," he paused, hand on the door. "Go back to bed." When he was gone, Olivia sat there in silence, heart still racing. The pasta on the stove simmered forgotten. Outside, in the storm, Dante's car sped through the flooded streets toward the docks. He told himself he was thinking about the shipment, the business, the rival trying to provoke him. But all he could think about was how close her lips had been to his, and how dangerous it felt to care about anyone in his world. Back in the penthouse, Olivia finally walked to the window. The city below was alive with thunder, but her reflection in the glass looked calm. Maybe too calm for someone who'd just realized she wanted the one man she couldn't have. She touched her fingers to the glass, whispering to herself, "What are you doing?" She didn't have an answer. Hours later, around 3 a.m., the elevator opened. Dante returned, soaked, tired, shirt half undone, knuckles bruised. He froze when he saw her waiting in the hallway. "You're supposed to be asleep," he said, voice rough. "I couldn't." Her eyes went to his hands. "You're bleeding." "It's nothing." She stepped closer, taking his wrist gently. "Sit." He didn't argue. For once he let someone take care of him. She cleaned the cut, her hands trembling slightly. "Does this happen a lot?" she asked softly. "Often enough." "You should stop." "I can't." "Because of the business?" He looked at her, really looked. "Because this is who I am." She pressed a towel to his hand, eyes glistening. "Then promise me you'll at least be careful." He gave a half smile. "You care? Don't make me regret it." He laughed quietly, low in his chest. Too late. For a moment it was quiet again. The storm had eased outside, leaving only the hum of the city. She kept her hand on his, and neither moved. When she finally looked up, their eyes met, and that was all it took. Every line they'd drawn, every rule they'd tried to follow, vanished. He leaned forward, brushing his lips against hers. It was soft, almost cautious at first, then deeper, hungrier. She tasted rain and danger, and something that felt like truth. When he finally pulled back, he rested his forehead against hers. "You shouldn't be here." "I know, but I'm not sending you away." What happens when the world that made Dante dangerous finally finds out he has someone, to lose? Olivia woke up in the guest room of a mafia boss's penthouse knowing one thing for sure. After last night, nothing would ever be just work again. She hadn't meant for it to happen. She hadn't planned to kiss him. She definitely hadn't planned to patch up his hand at 3 a.m. while he sat there, shirt undone, wet from the rain, and looking at her like she was the only quiet thing in his world. But she had, and he had kissed her back, fully, without hiding, without pretending it was a mistake. Now she had to walk out there and see him like they hadn't crossed a line. She got dressed quickly in the extra clothes the housekeeper kept for emergencies, simple black pants, a soft beige sweater. She tied her hair back, took a deep breath, and stepped into the hallway. Dante was already awake. Of course he was. He was in the kitchen, suit pants on, white shirt rolled at the sleeves, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. His hair was still damp from the shower, and he had that look again, half boss, half man who hadn't slept much. He saw her the second she walked in. Something flickered in his eyes. "Morning," he said. "Morning," she replied, pretending to be casual, pretending she hadn't wanted to kiss him again the second she opened her eyes. He watched her go to the sink, wash her hands, start preparing breakfast like any other day, like she was still the maid, like he hadn't held her face in his hands hours ago. "You don't have to work today," he said suddenly. She looked over her shoulder. "I work here. That's what I do." "You were up half the night. So were you. That's different." "How?" she asked, turning fully now. "Because you run an empire and I run a dishwasher." His jaw clenched. "Because someone took a shot at us last night." She froze. "What?" He set the coffee down. "At the docks. Not at me directly. Warning shots. DeLuca's men were there." The name was new to her, but she didn't need details. She knew enough to understand. Another man in the same business. Another man with guns. Another man who didn't like Dante. "So they tried to scare you?" "They tried to see how far I'd go." His eyes locked on hers. "And I don't like it when people test me." "What does that have to do with me?" He hesitated, and in that hesitation she understood. "They saw me," she whispered. "Not clearly, but they saw someone in the penthouse. Someone I cared enough to keep there." Her stomach dropped. "Dante, this is why I told you to tell security when you meet people. This is why I follow when something doesn't make sense. This is why I don't like surprises. You think they'll come after me?" "I think," he said slowly, "that when a man like DeLuca wants leverage, he looks for whatever you're trying to protect." She swallowed. "And you're trying to protect me?" "Yes." His answer was immediate, firm. No embarrassment this time, no pretending. He said it like a fact. She looked down at the countertop, fingers tracing the marble. "I didn't ask for that." "I know. I just took a job." "I know." "I didn't know you'd want you," he finished for her, voice low. "Neither did I." Silence stretched between them. He stepped closer, resting his hands on the counter, crowding her in but not quite touching. "So now we adjust." "How?" "You stay here until I say it's clear." Her head snapped up. "Here, as in, live here? Temporarily. Dante, I can't just move into your penthouse because a guy you hate saw a light on." "You can," he said, "because you already stayed once. Because I know they were at the docks. Because I am not letting anyone get near you to make a point to me." She stared at him. "You really think they'd use me?" He didn't blink. "I would." That stunned her more than threats, more than guns, more than the name DeLuca. "You would?" she breathed. He nodded once. "If I saw an enemy get out of his car at 3 in the morning to go back upstairs for someone, I'd know she mattered." Her cheeks warmed. "I didn't know you saw that." "I see everything." He said it like a warning and like a promise. By noon, the decision wasn't optional anymore. Luca came in with his usual unbothered swagger, but Olivia noticed his eyes were sharper, more alert. He scanned the windows, the elevator, the entrances. "We got confirmation," he said to Dante. "DeLuca's guy was taking pictures." "Of the docks?" Olivia asked. Luca glanced at her, then at Dante. "Of the building." Dante's voice dropped. "You sure?" "Yeah. They know where you live." "And they saw someone else walk around here last night. Blonde, smaller, definitely not staff we know." Olivia's heart hammered. "That was me." "Yeah," Luca said. "That's why I'm saying, if you don't want her hurt, stop pretending she's just the maid." Dante nodded once. "She's staying here." Luca smirked. "Thought you'd say that." Olivia looked between them. "Wait, do I get a say?" "No," both men said at the same time. She huffed. "Unbelievable." Dante's lips twitched. "Get your things after work." "I don't have things. I rent a small room." "Then we'll send someone to get what you have." "This is insane. This is protection. This is control." He didn't deny it. "Yes." She stared at him for a long second. "Fine, but I'm not sleeping in the same bed as you." He raised an eyebrow. That wasn't on the table. She blushed. Luca coughed to hide a laugh. That evening, while the city glowed under a cold dusk, Olivia stood in the guest room that was now, temporarily, hers. Fresh sheets, soft lighting, floor-to-ceiling window with a view of the skyline. It felt like everything and nothing at once. She heard a knock. "Come in." It was Dante. He was different now. In a black shirt, no tie, holster on his shoulder. He didn't try to hide it. If she was going to stay in his world, she might as well see it. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes." "You can say no." She gave him a look. "Can I?" He smirked. "You can complain." "I already did. I heard." He stepped into the room, looking around. "If you need anything." She folded her arms. "I need to know something." "What? Why are you doing this? Really? And don't say protection." His eyes met hers, steady. "Because they figured out I have a weak spot. And because I am not losing you over a man I should have taken out months ago." Her breath caught. "You don't even know if you have me." He took 2 slow steps toward her. "Don't I?" She didn't answer. He lifted a hand, brushing his fingers down her arm, slow, deliberate. Her skin erupted in goosebumps. He watched it happen. "This is what I meant," he said softly. "I can't have you walking around the city like you don't belong to anyone, not when I feel this." She looked up at him, heart in her throat. "Say it." "I want you close," he said. "I want you where I can see you. I want you safe. And I want them to know you're under me." Her knees almost buckled. "That sounds possessive." "It is." She swallowed. "And if I say it's too much?" His eyes softened just a fraction. "Then I'll still protect you. But I won't pretend I don't want more." Her chest rose and fell faster. "Dante." He leaned in, not to kiss her, but to speak against her ear. "You have no idea what it does to me that you laughed at me in the street and I still can't stop thinking about you." She smiled, eyes closing for a second. "You're not going to forgive that, are you?" "Never." He pulled back just enough to look at her. "Dinner's in 20. Don't disappear." Dinner was quiet, but not awkward. He sat at the head of the long table. She sat at the side, closer than a staff member would, further than a lover would. He didn't let the other staff serve tonight. He dismissed them and did it himself, plating the food, pouring the wine. "You cook," she said, surprised. "I eat," he corrected. "I like it good. So you can kill someone at 3 a.m. and make perfect pasta at 8 p.m. Interesting skill set." He chuckled. "You're not scared." "Should I be?" "Yes." She met his gaze. "I'm more scared of being lied to." "I won't lie to you," he said immediately. "You already did," she said, tilting her head. "You said you don't get jealous." He stared at her. Then he laughed. Really laughed. That low, rare sound that made him look younger. "Okay. That one I lied about." They ate. They talked about normal things. Ryan's classes, her first job, the first time he got in trouble as a teenager. She learned he grew up in Brooklyn, that his father was old school, that violence had been in his life long before he chose it. "You don't regret it?" she asked. "No. Not even now." He held her gaze. Not even now. That answer should have scared her. Instead, it just made him look honest. Later, she was in the kitchen rinsing plates when she felt him behind her. She didn't have to turn. She knew his presence now. "You don't have to do dishes," he said, force of habit. He reached around her, taking the plate from her hands, his chest brushing her back. Her breath hitched. He set the plate down and didn't move away. "Olivia." "You know this changes everything, right?" She stared at the sink. "I figured. You can't go back to being just staff." "I figured that too." His hand slid slowly from the counter to her waist, fingers pressing lightly over the fabric of her sweater. Not grabbing, not rushing, just claiming. She closed her eyes. "You're not scared?" he murmured. "I am," she whispered. "Not of you." of the mess. I'll handle the mess. You can't control everything. He bent, lips near her ear. Watch me. She almost turned to kiss him then. Almost, but a sharp buzz sounded on his phone. He checked it and the softness vanished from his face. What is it? She asked. He was already in boss mode again. They moved. Who? DeLuca's guys. They were near your old building. Her blood ran cold. What? They were looking for you, he said, eyes on hers. They asked the landlord if you still lived there. She felt her legs weaken. How did they? Because I let you go there alone for too long, he said, furious at himself. That's over. I don't live there anymore, she said quickly. Your men picked up my things. They don't know that yet, he said. So we're going to make sure they never get close enough to find out. She nodded, heart pounding. Okay. He cupped her face suddenly, his thumb tracing her cheek. Look at me. She did. They will not touch you, he said, each word slow and lethal. Not while I'm breathing. She believed him, completely. That night, the penthouse was quieter than usual. Security doubled at the entrance. Lucas stayed downstairs. The cameras were checked twice. Olivia sat on the edge of the guest bed, staring at the door, feeling the weight of a life she hadn't chosen closing in on her. She heard footsteps. A soft knock. It's me, Dante's voice said. She opened. He stood there in a black t-shirt, no holster this time, hair slightly messy, eyes tired. You can't sleep either? She asked. He shook his head. I keep seeing them at your building. I'm not there. I know. He exhaled. I still see it. She hesitated. Then, softly, do you want to sit? He stepped in. She sat on the bed. He sat beside her, not touching but close, close enough that their shoulders almost met. I didn't want this, he said after a moment. What? For you to be dragged into this. You warned me. I still let it happen. She looked at him. Dante, I'm here because you asked me to stay. If I'd said no, you'd have fought me on it. True. So stop acting like you forced me. He turned to her, eyes searching her face. You're not scared of me? No. You're not scared of what I do? I don't like it, she said honestly. But I like you. Something in him softened, something no one else got to see. You shouldn't. I know. He reached over then, slowly, giving her every second to pull away. She didn't. His hand slid to the back of her neck, warm and sure, and he pulled her in for a kiss. This one wasn't cautious. It was hungry. She leaned into him, fingers gripping his shirt, heart pounding. He tasted like coffee and danger, and something that felt like home even though it shouldn't. He deepened the kiss, but he kept control, not of her, but of himself. He wasn't going to rush, not tonight, not when she was staying here because of his world. He pulled back, resting his forehead on hers. If I start this, I won't want to stop. She was breathing hard. Then don't start. He huffed a laugh. You're cruel. You're the one putting me in your house and telling me not to feel anything. I didn't say that, he murmured. I said it's dangerous. She looked into his eyes. What isn't with you? He had no answer. He kissed her again, slower this time, like memorizing her, and then forced himself to stand. I have to check downstairs, he said, voice rough. Lock your door. I thought I was under your protection. You are. Lock it anyway. He walked to the door, hand on the knob. Then he looked back, gaze fierce. Olivia. Yes? From this point on, if anyone asks, you're with me. What happens when the entire criminal world realizes Dante Vitale now has someone to lose, and she realizes loving him means living in that world too? When Dante said, you're with me, he meant it. Not in the casual way people say we're together, but in the old world, dangerous way that meant something permanent. Everyone around him knew. Every man who worked for him heard it once and didn't need to hear it again. Olivia Carter now belonged to Dante Vitale. He never said it in front of her again, but his world had already received the message, and so had she. The following morning, Olivia woke to a new reality. Her name was on the building's private security list. Her fingerprint now opened the elevator that led to his penthouse. And for the first time, the guards outside nodded respectfully instead of pretending she was invisible. It should have felt safe. Instead, it felt like standing in a spotlight. She entered the kitchen to find Dante already on the phone, pacing near the window. The skyline behind him looked sharp, metallic, just like the man in front of it. "Yes," he said quietly into the phone. "No mistakes this time. If DeLuca moves again, I want eyes before he breathes." He hung up and finally looked at her. His face softened instantly. "Morning." "Morning," she said, pouring herself coffee. "Planning another war?" "Preventing one." She arched a brow. "That's comforting." He smirked. "You slept?" "Barely. I told you you'd get used to it. I don't think anyone should get used to men with guns outside the door. That's because you didn't grow up with them." She looked at him for a long second. "Is that what this is for you? Normal? Necessary?" She didn't push further. She'd learned that Dante only gave answers in pieces, fragments of truth wrapped in silence. The day unfolded strangely domestic. He worked from home, taking calls in Italian that sounded like poetry and threats mixed together. She cleaned what was already spotless just to keep busy. At one point, he looked up from his papers and said, "You don't have to keep doing that." "I like keeping my hands busy," she replied. He studied her for a beat, then went back to his work. But an hour later, she noticed a small tray of fruit and espresso sitting on the counter beside her. He hadn't said a word, just left it there. It was the kind of quiet care that didn't need explaining. By evening, the tension that had filled the air since she'd moved in began to shift. The danger was still there, outside in the city that never slept. But inside the penthouse, something warmer was growing. She found him in the living room, shirt unbuttoned at the collar, eyes on the news but not really watching. "Long day?" she asked softly. He glanced up. "You could say that. You need dinner?" He smiled faintly. "You offering?" She shrugged. "You fed me pasta during a storm. I owe you one." He let her cook. He didn't interfere. Just leaned against the counter, sleeves rolled up, arms crossed, watching her move around his kitchen like she'd always belonged there. When she placed the food in front of him, he took a bite, then looked up. "You're dangerous," he said. She blinked. "Me? You make this look normal." She smiled. "It is normal. Cooking, talking, people do this. Not people like me." "Maybe you should." He looked at her for a long time. "You really think I could change?" "I think you don't want to," she said simply. He didn't argue, because she was right. He didn't want to. And yet, he wanted her. And somehow, that contradiction didn't scare him anymore. Later that night, they sat on the balcony overlooking the city. The lights stretched forever. The wind carried faint sirens from blocks away. He poured 2 glasses of wine. She accepted one, wrapping her fingers around the stem. "You ever think about leaving it all behind?" she asked quietly. "The business?" "The danger." He considered it. "Every man in my world thinks about it. None of them really mean it." "And you?" "I couldn't stop if I tried." She looked at him, eyes soft. "Because you don't want to, or because you don't know how?" "Both." They sat in silence for a while. Then she said, "What if someone made you want to?" He smiled, not cold, genuine, amused, a little sad. "Then I'd want to protect her from it. But I wouldn't pretend to be something I'm not." "You don't lie, do you?" "No," he said. "Not to you." That truth felt heavier than any lie could. Days passed. She learned his patterns. He liked his coffee black, his whiskey at night, his paperwork organized down to the smallest detail. He didn't sleep more than 5 hours. He hated when people raised their voices. And he always kept a gun within reach, even when he was smiling. He learned hers too. She hummed when she cleaned. She laughed at bad jokes. She talked to herself when she cooked. And she called him Dante now, not Mr. Vitale. That alone made every man in his circle nervous. No one else dared say his first name. One afternoon, Luca showed up as usual, uninvited and too relaxed. "Boss," he said, walking in with a folder. "We got a lead on DeLuca's men." Olivia glanced up from the kitchen. "Coffee?" Luca grinned. "You're spoiling us, Liv." Dante's head snapped up. "What did you call her?" Luca froze. Nothing, boss." Olivia hid a smile. When Luca left, Dante said, "He's lucky he's my friend." She laughed. "He's harmless. He's loud. You're jealous." He looked at her sharply, then shook his head. "You think I don't notice how people look at you? They're just being polite. Not polite enough." She crossed her arms. "You can't control everyone." He stepped close, voice dropping. "No, but I can make them afraid to try." Her heart kicked faster. "You realize how crazy that sounds?" "Yes." "And you're okay with that?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because it's the only way to keep you safe." She stared at him for a long second. "You really believe that?" "I know it." And maybe, she thought, that was what made him who he was. A man who equated love with protection, control with care. It was twisted, but it was real. That night he took her somewhere new. He didn't say where they were going, just told her to wear something nice. The car stopped in front of a quiet Italian restaurant downtown. Not one of his flashy spots, but something older, warmer, full of candlelight and low jazz. "This is yours," she realized as they stepped inside. He nodded. "One of them." The staff greeted him with respect, not fear, but reverence. A table waited in the corner, private and set for two. He held her chair. "This doesn't feel like your world," she said softly. "It's the part I don't show most people." They ordered, they talked, and when the music changed, he extended a hand. "Dance with me." Her eyes widened. "Here." "Why not?" She hesitated only a second before placing her hand in his. He led her onto the small open space near their table. His hand settled at her waist, hers rested lightly on his shoulder. He moved like he was born to it, steady, confident, close. She smiled up at him. "Who taught you this?" "My mother," he said quietly, "before she died." Her chest tightened. "You never talk about her." "She loved music," he said simply. "Said it was the only thing that made the world feel safe." Olivia pressed her head lightly against his chest. Maybe she was right. He held her a little tighter. When they left the restaurant, two of his men flanked the car. She noticed, but didn't ask. She'd learned not to. Halfway home, Dante's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, face hardening. "What is it?" she asked. He didn't answer. "Dante?" He closed the phone slowly. "Ryan." Her pulse skipped. "What about him?" "He's fine," Dante said quickly. But DeLuca's men made contact. Her breath caught. "What do you mean, contact?" "They followed him after class. Didn't touch him. Just made sure he noticed." "Oh my God." "He's safe now," Dante said. "Luca's men picked him up. They're bringing him here." Her voice trembled. "You think they did it to scare you or me?" "Both." When Ryan arrived, pale and confused, Olivia ran to him. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," he said. "They didn't do anything, just stared. One of them said your name, then mine." Dante stood behind her, silent, calculating. Ryan looked at him. "You said you'd keep her safe." "I will," Dante said. "You said none of this would touch us." "I said I'd protect her, and now I'm protecting you too." Ryan looked between them. "Protect or own?" "Ryan," Olivia warned softly. "No," he said, shaking his head. "You have no idea what you're in, Liv." Dante stepped forward, calm but firm. "You're right. She doesn't. But she will. And you'll stay alive because I said so." Ryan swallowed. "I don't owe you anything." "No," Dante said, voice low. "But your sister does." Ryan's jaw clenched. "You don't scare me." "You should," Dante said quietly, "because I don't make threats twice." The air thickened until Olivia finally stepped between them. "Enough." Dante looked at her, then at Ryan, then backed off a step. "He'll stay in the lower apartment for now. Luca will set it up." Ryan hesitated. You really think I'm safer here? I know you are, Dante said. Because nobody touches what's mine. Ryan looked at his sister, then back at Dante. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, hearing every distant sound of the city, every echo of Ryan's voice. Dante knocked once, then stepped inside quietly. You awake? She sat up. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you, he said. But we are. He crossed to her, sat on the edge of the bed, close but not touching. I meant what I said. He's safe. I know. You're angry. I'm tired, she said, of pretending this isn't bigger than me. It is bigger than you, he said softly. It's bigger than me, too. Then why don't you stop? He looked at her for a long moment. Because this is all I know. She exhaled shakily. And if I asked you to walk away? He shook his head. You wouldn't. Why not? Because you already know who I am, and you kissed me anyway. Her throat tightened. That doesn't mean I'm okay with this. It means you see me, he said quietly, and no one ever has. She looked at him, the man everyone feared, sitting there like he'd finally let someone in. And she realized she wasn't just living in his world anymore. She was part of it. He reached for her hand. Whatever happens next, you stay close to me. I always do, she whispered. He leaned in and kissed her, deep and certain, the kind of kiss that felt like both a promise and a warning. When DeLuca decides to strike back, Dante must face the cost of loving someone outside the Mafia, and Olivia will finally see just how far he's willing to go to protect what's his. It happened on a Tuesday. Nothing about the day said danger. The sky was clear, the city was noisy. Dante was in his office going over shipments, and Olivia was making lunch like this was a normal home and not the headquarters of a man other criminals watched from a distance. Ryan was in the lower apartment, trying to pretend he wasn't under protection. He'd argued, complained, said he didn't want to be part of this. But he was still there, because even he knew that if men from Dante's world had his name, he couldn't go back to pretending he was just a college kid. Olivia took him food every day. Don't get used to this, she always said. I already am, he always said back. At noon, she went down like always. She knocked. Ryan, open. I brought... No answer. She frowned. Ryan, don't make me use the code. Still nothing. She typed in the code Dante's men had set for her, pushed the door open and stepped inside. The plate in her hand slipped. The place was a mess. Chair tipped over. Ryan's backpack on the floor, his phone on the table, and in the center of the room, taped to the wall, a single folded piece of paper with a name scrawled in black marker. Vitale. Her blood went cold. Dante! She screamed. Footsteps thundered. Two of his men rushed in first, guns already out. Dante was right behind them, eyes scanning the room in 1 second, taking in everything. He's gone, Olivia said, voice shaking. They took him. They left that. One of the men handed Dante the note. He opened it. It was simple. You took what was mine. I took what you care about. Let's see who breaks first. R. DeLuca. Dante's jaw flexed once. No shouting, no questions, no panic, just pure, sharp rage. He turned to his men. Lock every entrance, no one in or out. Find the cameras. Olivia grabbed his arm. Dante, they have Ryan. I know. We have to go get him. He looked at her then, really looked, seeing the fear in her eyes. We will. When? Now. 15 minutes later, the penthouse was buzzing. Luca spread photos and printouts over the table. We got footage from the garage. 2 men. Masks. They knew where to go. They went straight to Carter's door. They had our layout, Dante said, voice low. Someone talked. Or someone followed her and the kid earlier and waited. Dante's eyes narrowed. He's been watching us. Olivia stood between them, shaking. What are you going to do? Dante looked at her. Get your brother back. How? The same way I get everything back. I take it. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She stared at him. At the man who was always calm, always calculating. Today, he looked like a storm barely contained. Is he going to be okay? Yes. How do you know? Because I'm going to make sure of it. Dante? He stepped close, grabbing her face in both hands. Listen to me. This is what it costs. What? Being with me. This is what it costs. People will come for you. For him. For anyone I look at too long. This is why I tried to keep you in the building. This is why I don't like surprises. Tears burned her eyes. I didn't ask for this. I know, but I'm still going to fix it. He kissed her forehead fast and fierce, then turned to Luca. We know where he'd take him? Luca nodded to a map. DeLuca's been using an old print factory in Jersey. We tracked 2 cars there this morning. Then that's where we're going. I'll go with you. No, Dante said at once. You stay. Olivia snapped her head up. No, I'm coming. Olivia, he took my brother because of me, she said, voice trembling but steady. I'm not staying here waiting to hear if he's alive. He took your brother because of me, Dante corrected. This is my war, not yours. You made me part of it. He stared at her. Then he swore under his breath. Fine, you go in the second car. You don't leave it unless I say. She nodded fast. Okay. He grabbed her wrist. I mean it. You don't move until I tell you. I won't. He held her eyes for one more second, as if memorizing her. Then he let go. The ride to Jersey was tense. Dante was in the first SUV with Luca and 2 of his best men. Olivia sat in the second with one of his security guys beside her, gun visible. Rain started again, hitting the windows like fingers. She looked ahead at the black SUV and thought, this is what loving him means. This. Not just kisses and pasta and city views. This. Her phone buzzed. Dante, don't get out until I say. Olivia, just bring him back. Dante, I will. Olivia, don't get shot. Dante, not in the plan. She almost laughed. Almost. The factory was exactly where Luca said it would be. A wide, abandoned brick building near the water, chain-link fences, broken windows. Classic place for a message. Dante's SUV stopped first. He got out, coat open, gun already in his hand. Olivia watched from the back car, heart in her throat. Luca and the men fanned out. Eyes up, Luca said into the comm. He knows we're here. Dante walked forward, calm as if he owned the building. DeLuca, he shouted. You wanted me here. I'm here. A voice echoed from inside. You brought friends. You took something of mine, Dante called back. I don't play alone when people do that. Oh, she is something, isn't she? DeLuca's voice was mocking, slick. Pretty little maid. Didn't think you were the type, Vitale. Dante's grip tightened. You touch her, I burn your entire operation. Relax, DeLuca said. I didn't take the girl, yet. I took the brother, to show you how easy it is. Olivia clawed at the door handle, but the guard beside her shook his head. Boss said stay. She could see inside from where she sat, not clearly, but enough. A chair, a figure. Ryan, hands tied, mouth taped but alive, her eyes filled. Dante stepped into the doorway, but not too far. He knew better than to walk into a trap. Let him go, he said. You hurt my people. I hurt yours, DeLuca said, stepping into view. Mid-40s, dark coat, smirk that said he liked this. You thought you could steal my men, my territory, my shipments, and I wouldn't respond? You sent men after a woman, Dante said. That's weak. I sent men after your weakness, DeLuca replied. Big difference. You want me? Dante said. I'm here. Let him go. DeLuca laughed. You think I don't see what's happening? You think I don't see you going soft? Bringing a civilian into your house? Letting everyone see it. Since when does Dante Vitale bring home a maid? That was when Dante decided DeLuca wasn't walking away. You shouldn't have said her name, Dante said quietly. What, Olivia? DeLuca taunted. That her name? Maybe I should have taken. The shot rang out before he finished. Dante didn't aim for the head. He aimed for the shoulder, enough to drop him, not enough to kill him yet. DeLuca shouted, falling back. His men moved. Dante's men moved faster. Bullets exploded through the empty factory. Stay down, the guard barked to Olivia. as she ducked in the car, hands over her head. She saw flashes, heard shouts, felt the car shake. It was over fast. Dante never wasted time in firefights. Two of DeLuca's men down, one ran. Luca went after him. Dante moved straight for Ryan. He ripped the tape off his mouth. "You okay?" Ryan coughed. "I am now." Dante cut his hands free. "Get up." Ryan staggered. "Where's Liv?" "Outside." Ryan's face broke with relief. They rushed out together. The second Olivia saw her brother, she bolted from the car, ignoring the guard, ignoring Dante's order, and ran straight to him. "Ryan!" she cried, throwing her arms around him. "Are you hurt? Did they hurt you?" "I'm fine," he said, hugging her tight. "I'm fine." He came. She looked at Dante over Ryan's shoulder. He was standing there, gun still in his hand, chest rising and falling, eyes only on her. He'd risked a war for a boy who wasn't his. For her. She mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded once. Later, back at the penthouse, after the doctor checked Ryan and Luca made sure DeLuca had been handled for the night, Dante finally let himself breathe. Olivia found him in his office, staring out at the city again. "You okay?" she asked. He didn't turn. "You didn't listen." "I know. I told you to stay in the car." "I know." He turned now, eyes blazing. "You could have gotten shot. You could have gotten shot. I'm used to it." "I'm not," she said, voice shaking now that it was over. "I'm not used to seeing you walk into a building with a gun and no fear. I'm not used to you risking your life because of me." He walked around the desk, coming close. "That's what this is, Olivia. That's what being with me looks like. You wanted to be part of it." "I wanted you," she said. "Not the guns. You can't separate them." "I know." He took a breath, then said it. The thing he hadn't planned to say. "I knew about you before you worked for me." She froze. "What?" He held her gaze. "You think an agency sends someone into my home and I don't check? I knew your name. I knew your brother. I knew you worked 2 jobs. I knew you never missed a payment. I knew you weren't connected to anyone." Her eyes burned. "So you... what, picked me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you were clean," he said. "Because you weren't using the job to get close to me. Because you smiled at the doorman for real. Because you came in, did your work, and left. Because you were light in a place that's dark most days." She stared at him, disbelief and something else mixing in her chest. "So when you followed me that night, I already knew you had a brother," he admitted. "I just didn't like seeing you laugh with another man." She let out a breath that was half a laugh, half a sob. "You're unbelievable. I told you I don't like surprises. You could have told me. You would have quit." She paused. "Maybe. I didn't want you to quit. And now, he said, stepping even closer, "I want you to stay, even after today, even after seeing what this life costs." She swallowed hard. "I almost lost my brother. But you didn't. Because of you." "Yes." She looked up at him, eyes wet. "I love him." "I know. I can't lose him." "You won't," he said. "Not while I'm here." She searched his face. "And you? Who protects you?" He almost smiled. "No one." She lifted a hand and touched his cheek. "I could." His eyes darkened. "That's not your job." "I don't care." He grabbed her wrist, pulled her in. The kiss wasn't gentle this time. It was relief, anger, adrenaline, all of it at once. She kissed him back just as hard, fingers tangling in his hair. He broke away first, breathing hard. "Marry me." She blinked. "What?" "Marry me," he repeated, like it was the easiest thing in the world. "You're already in my house. My men already know your name. DeLuca already tried to use you. There's no going back. Marry me." Her mouth opened. "Dante, you were in a shootout an hour ago." "I don't want to wait," he said. "I don't want to pretend you're just the maid. I don't want anyone thinking you're temporary. You're mine." She shook her head slowly, stunned. "But you said you wouldn't leave the business." "I won't." Then you're asking me to marry a mafia boss? Yes. You're not promising to change? No. You're not promising to be safer? No. You're just asking me to stay in it. With you? Yes. She stared at him. At the man who just risked his life for her brother, who'd admitted he'd investigated her before she even cleaned his floor, who didn't lie about who he was. And for the first time she realized he wasn't going to be redeemed. He was going to be loved anyway. I need to think, she whispered. He nodded once. Then think. He stepped back, giving her space, something he rarely did. But as she walked toward the door, he said, Olivia. She looked back. I'm not asking because I'm afraid of losing you, he said. I'm asking because today proved I can't afford to. Will she marry a man who just proved he will always choose the crime, even while choosing her? Or will loving Dante Vitale mean accepting a life where danger never leaves? The days after the kidnapping felt like the calm after a war. Ryan was alive. DeLuca was gone. No one asked how. And New York, in all its chaos, went back to pretending it didn't know the name Dante Vitale. But inside the penthouse, nothing was the same. Olivia woke every morning to quiet she didn't trust. Dante worked, made calls, met people, but his eyes found her every time she walked by, as if to make sure she was still there, still breathing, still his. They barely talked about what had happened. They didn't have to. Some things in his world didn't need words. But every night, when the city lights flickered across their windows, she thought about what he'd asked her. Marry me. It wasn't a fairy tale proposal. There was no ring, no kneeling, no promises of a clean life. It was a confession, one that came from a man who knew he couldn't change, but was still willing to let her in anyway. And she hadn't said yes. Not yet. On the third night after the rescue, she found him on the balcony again, glass of whiskey in hand, shirt open at the collar. The city below looked small, almost innocent. The man standing above it didn't. She stepped outside quietly. You never sleep, do you? He didn't turn. Sleep's for people who feel safe. And you don't? He smiled without humor. Not since I was 15. She walked closer, the cold air brushing her skin. You still thinking about what you said? I'm thinking about how you haven't answered. She crossed her arms. You proposed right after a gunfight, Dante. Some of us need time to breathe. Time doesn't change who I am. I know. She hesitated, then said softly, That's what scares me. He turned then, fully, and faced her. You think I don't know what this means? You think I haven't tried to stop myself from asking you? Then why did you? Because you make me feel human, he said simply. And no one in my life has ever done that without wanting something in return. She met his gaze. And if I say yes, what happens to me? He stepped closer. You get me. All of me. The good, the bad, the danger. You get a name that protects you and a man who doesn't know how to leave you. That sounds like both a promise and a threat. He smiled faintly. It's both. She laughed softly, shaking her head. You're impossible. I'm yours, he said. Her heart jumped. You really believe that, don't you? He nodded once. I do. The wedding happened quietly, 3 weeks later. No press, no church, no family, just power and silence. It took place in the garden of one of Dante's properties upstate, a place so private it didn't appear on maps. Ryan walked her down the small stone path, still uneasy about everything, but unwilling to let anyone else do it. You sure? He whispered. She smiled faintly. I've never been sure. He sighed, half proud, half worried. He's not like us, Liv. I know, she said. But he looks at me like he is. When they reached the archway, Dante was there. No tux, just a perfectly tailored black suit, open collar, hair slicked back, eyes only on her. For a man who spent his life commanding armies, he looked strangely nervous. The officiant spoke briefly. Words about loyalty and choice, about building something even in darkness. When it was time, Dante didn't wait for the cue. He took her hands, voice low but clear. "I won't promise to be a good man," he said. "I'll promise to be your man." Olivia smiled through tears. "That's enough." "Too late to run," he whispered. "Wasn't planning to." When he kissed her, Luca whistled quietly from the side, and even the guards looked away with small smiles. It was done, Mrs. Vitale. The reception wasn't a reception at all. Dinner for a few close people, Luca, the driver, 2 guards who'd been with him for years. Ryan sat stiffly at the end of the table, still trying to understand the idea of his sister marrying the man who terrified half the city. Dante made a toast. "To loyalty," he said simply, "and to the woman who has more courage than anyone in this room." Olivia raised her glass. "To a life that makes sense, even if no one else understands it." Everyone drank. Everyone knew what she meant. Later that night, as the cars left and the lights dimmed, Dante walked with her through the quiet property. The air smelled like rain and earth. The house behind them glowed warm and gold. "You nervous?" he asked. She smiled. "About what?" "Being married to a criminal." She looked at him, then reached for his hand. "No, I'm married to you." He stopped walking. "You really mean that?" "Yes." He exhaled, like something heavy had lifted off his chest. "Then I need to tell you something." She frowned. "What?" He turned, facing her fully. "DeLuca's gone. His men are scattered, but there'll be others." "There always are. I can't promise peace." "I'm not asking for peace. What are you asking for?" She stepped closer, laying her hand on his chest. "Honesty, respect, and to never find out from someone else what you've done." He covered her hand with his. "Done. And one more thing." He raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "When you walk back into that world, you leave me out of it. You don't bring it home." He nodded slowly. "Deal? And if you break that deal?" He smiled. "Then you'll make me pay for it." "I will." He kissed her then, slow and certain, the kind of kiss that sealed more than a marriage. Weeks turned into months. The world around them adjusted. People whispered when she appeared beside him at dinners, when her photo leaked once. A simple shot of her stepping out of his car, his hand at her back. The caption in the tabloid was simple. "The untouchable finally touched." She ignored it. He didn't. Anyone who printed her picture again mysteriously stopped. Ryan finished college, stayed close, slowly made peace with the man who'd saved his life. And Dante kept his empire running, smarter, quieter, deadlier. He came home every night, never before midnight, always with that same look when he saw her, the look of a man who still couldn't believe she was real. Sometimes, when she couldn't sleep, she'd walk to the balcony and find him there, watching the city. "You still thinking about it?" she'd ask. "About what?" "The other life, the old one." He'd smirk. "This is the life. And me? You're the reason I still have one." One evening, as the sun set in orange streaks across Manhattan, she joined him outside. He was in his usual place, whiskey, silence, the city at his feet. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. He looked at her. "Marrying you?" "No," she said softly. "Letting me into your world." He thought for a long moment. "I don't regret what keeps me alive." She smiled. "You call this living?" He pulled her close, his voice low against her hair. "I call this mine." And she realized he was right. Not because his world was safe, but because, somehow, she belonged in it. A week later, Luca brought news of a rival trying to move into one of Dante's territories. "Handle it," Dante said simply, signing a document. "Already on it," Luca replied, then glanced at Olivia standing nearby. "You sure you want her hearing this?" "She's my wife," Dante said. "She hears everything I want her to." Olivia smiled faintly. "Relax, Luca, I'm not taking notes." Luca left, shaking his head. "You're going to make the boss soft, Mrs. Vitale." She laughed. "I think I already did." Dante looked up from his papers. "You think I'm soft?" She walked over, leaned against his desk. "Not soft. Human." He reached for her hand, pulling her closer. "Don't tell anyone." She grinned. Your secret's safe with me. That night, lying in bed, Olivia listened to the faint hum of the city outside. Dante's arm was around her, his breathing steady against her neck. The same man who once ruled by fear now slept like he finally had something worth losing. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. Because she understood it now. The cost, the danger, the heat, the loyalty. It wasn't about taming him. It was about standing next to him and knowing she could. In the morning when he left for a meeting, he kissed her cheek and whispered, "Be good." "You too," she said. He smirked. No promises. She watched him go, that black suit and quiet power that somehow felt like home. The door closed, and she smiled to herself. This was her life now, unpredictable, dangerous, alive. And for better or worse, it was exactly what she'd chosen. She didn't marry a hero. She married the storm, and learned how to stand in the middle of it. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.